Howie Roseman strikes again as he heads down to South Florida to take advantage of a yard sale that the Dolphins are having. We'll discuss both teams in just a second here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Here's the fact that it's your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Barbershop right here on Locked On NFL. Twice a day, you get 2 episodes, and this is the one you got right now in the afternoon here on Locked On NFL. We welcome in Julian Council from Locked On Panthers, as we always do on a Monday. We will go around the NFL with some of the top stories already hitting the news cycle early this Monday morning, and we'll give you all of that info based on the local experts having their pulse on the finger of the team. So we'll use a lot of clips to keep you going with that, to make sure that you understand everything going on. So shout out to the everydayers who join us each and every day here on Locked On NFL, and wherever you get your episodes, whether you watch or listen, we will be there. An episode like today that is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, let me tell you where Julian and I are going to go. NFC North leaders collapse. They really collapsed and lost some games yesterday. One of them to the team that Julian covers, so we'll discuss that. The Colts look atrocious in Pittsburgh. Why it might not be all bad for Danny Dimes or Indiana Jones or whatever you want to call him. But we're going to start with Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles doing what Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles do. They made a trade today with the Miami Dolphins for edge rusher Jalen Phillips, who played for defensive coordinator Vic Fangio in 2023. They give up a 3rd-round pick. Julian, this is what Howie does. This is the 3rd trade within a week to try to fortify their team to get ready for the playoffs.
Well, yeah, they're trying to go back-to-back, which would make sense when you're Philadelphia and you are in a position with Jalen Hurts and with those 2 great receivers, and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, who oftentimes are aggrieved about how often they get the ball or don't get the ball. But, yeah, you're always in a position to win up there in Philadelphia. And it makes sense when you've clearly had an issue getting after the passer this season to try to go out there and to replenish what you lost in the offseason. That would have been nicer had they maybe retained or found a way to backfill. They didn't do that, but now they got Jalen Phillips. They paid a pretty nice price of a 3rd-round pick to do so. So, yeah, Howie just being Howie.
Yep, their original 3rd-round pick, which is going to be low. Now, they also have the Jets' 3rd-round pick in the Hassan Reddick deal. Oh, they kept that one because that's going to be a high 3rd-round pick. So smart business for Howie. Here's my man Lou DiBiase to tell you how Howie is moving and shaking up in Philly.
This guy cannot be stopped. Howie Roseman makes another trade. Miami Dolphins edge rusher Jalen Phillips headed to Philadelphia for a 2026 3rd-round pick. Phillips added on top of Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Brandon Graham, and Josh Uche makes maybe the deepest 4 to 5 man rotation on the edge the Eagles have had in quite some time. Phillips still in his prime, 3 sacks this year, has played in Vic Fangio's scheme before. This could be more of a long-term play than the Jair Alexander trade or Michael Carter, but if it's not, considering Phillips is a free agent next year, Howie Roseman might get that 3rd-round pick back in the comp pick formula of 2027. So you might get Jalen Phillips for free if he signs a $20+ million a year contract in UFA next year. Or you can extend him and he's a part of this young core with Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. Either way it works, and Howie Roseman truly thinks of everything.
Yeah, the rich get richer, and great breakdown by Louis from Locked On Eagles. It's really a no-lose situation for the Philadelphia Eagles when you look at the framework of this deal.
Yeah, and he talks about getting him for free if he does not re-sign, they get a comp pick. Now, that comp pick would not occur until 2027, so it would not benefit them in the upcoming draft in 2026. But I understand the point that Louis is making there, and also the fact that Jalen Phillips has played in Vic Fangio's defense before, that this could be a long-term play. And he's somebody who's up for a deal after this season, and a deal that's going to be pretty pricey depending on how he performs the rest of the year, but also just his background. He's had some injuries. That's been a concern during his time in Miami, and hopefully Philadelphia, now that they've acquired him, that won't be a problem. But you look at the team so far, they're only 16th in sacks. Now, I don't make too much out of sacks. I believe pressure greater than sacks, and that illustrates about when you look at their pressure percentage so far this season, it's 13th. So they can improve upon that, but it's not like they've been horrible when it comes to getting pressure on quarterbacks so far this season. So now Jalen Phillips, maybe they're able, with even some of these improvements at corner, to hold off better and allow some of that pass rush to get home with the coverage on the back end. I think they can now creep back into the top 10, where they were 7th last year when they won the Super Bowl. Excuse me.
Yeah, and they can afford to do these things because they draft really well, especially along the offensive line, and they draft and develop. These are rich people's problems. Like, okay, we got some draft capital. We have a little cap space. We got a good team. Let me tell you, doesn't have those problems. The team that they traded with, the Miami Dolphins, they got rid of their GM, Chris Greer, last week. In fact, we're going to hear Kyle Krabs talk about that. And then we'll talk about what kind of move this is for Miami, and do we expect to see more of the yard sale? Here's Kyle Krabs talking about the departure of Chris Greer.
The Miami Dolphins and general manager Chris Greer mutually agreed to part ways this morning after the latest embarrassing defeat, this one 28-6 at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens on national television. The Dolphins' primetime showcase was filled with lots of boos and lots of miscues, showcasing a fan base that is in a lot of discontent. And you wondered off of a game like that whether Stephen Ross would continue to simply stand by and allow this season to play itself out, or to drop the first shoe in what is sure to be some monumental changes to this organization. We now know Chris Greer, who's been the general manager in title since 2016, but has been the team's full-on executive responsible for the operation since 2019, leaves Miami mutually with a 77-80 record across that stretch of time. The first of many changes coming to the Dolphins.
Well, the second one happened now. That was a week ago. So Kyle got his answer. They are selling things off. Some people might think that why would they do that without a GM to make the decision? No, basically, if you don't do anything, you're actually making the decision for the new GM. At least you're going to arm him with picks, as opposed to him having to come in and make a decision on whether or not you want to retain Jalen Phillips, put some kind of tag on him. This sounds like to me that Stephen Ross has said, okay, whoever the negotiator is, because the GM always has a guy like that, he's probably still there. They're saying, dump everything. Let's start this thing completely over.
Yeah, and this, as you mentioned, is just one of the first changes. I guess Kyle mentioned that as well. 25 years Chris Greer spent down there in Miami with the Dolphins. Crazy. 25 years, starting off as a scout back in 2000 after starting his career up in New England with the Patriots. So, hey, shout out to him for having a long career down there in Miami, and I'm sure has plenty of great relationships down there in South Beach, so he can stick around and just count all his money, even if they mutually parted ways, which I don't buy that for a second. But, yeah, he'll be gone. And that's the first big move. Mike McDaniel, he'll be out after the season. And then they're probably going to find a way to dump Tua as well. And this will give the next general manager, head coach, a clean slate at quarterback with some of these draft picks, like getting this 3rd round pick from Philadelphia. That will make the job even more attractive than it already is, because of the fact that it's in Miami. So, yeah, it makes sense for them to have made that move last week, even if it was a mutual parting of ways, and now to offload an asset and get something back in return, when it's unlikely anyways that Jalen Phillips was going to be a Miami Dolphin in 2026 and beyond.
Maybe Bradley Chubb, maybe Jalen Waddle. If the season ended today, Miami would be picking 3rd in the draft. They got some work to do to catch New Orleans. Well, they're got the same record basically as New Orleans, or close to the same record as New Orleans and Tennessee. I don't see those teams winning any games anytime soon. So they might be the worst team to ever pick 3rd overall that I've ever seen. Yeah, and that would be saying a whole lot. All right, we got some more to get to. Surprise team of this year is the Indianapolis Colts. But we also got a surprise yesterday. They kind of showed up and looked like the old Colts for a little while in that game, and it cost them. We'll discuss that and more here in just a second on Locked On NFL.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
All right, and today's show is also sponsored by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Their Trade Master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process even smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and the dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for the free and use promo code SH, stands for Supply House, NFL, SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's right. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use that promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people in real service. We are rolling along here on Locked On NFL. Julian Council from Locked On Panthers joins us here as always on Monday to review a lot of the action from this past weekend. Of course, the first segment was used on breaking news that there was a trade between the Philadelphia Eagles and Miami Dolphins. Before we stop this show, there might be more breaking news. If it is, we'll give it to you. All right. But for right now, we're going to talk about one of the games of the day yesterday. Indianapolis Colts lost a one-score game in Pittsburgh against the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, who looked better on offense and looked very, very much improved on defense. We're going to focus on the Colts a little bit, though. Man, they had 6 turnovers, 6-1, in fact, Julian. And for this game to be a one-score game, it says a lot. To me, it says, okay, the old Colts kind of showed up. Danny Dimes showed up. Indiana Jones went away. But silver lining is they were still very much in this football game.
Yeah, look, it happens. It's the NFL. Like they weren't going to go 16-1. This was going to eventually happen to them, and it happened against Steelers, who's not a divisional opponent. Yes, they're an opponent there in the AFC that will be likely to win their division. Now, Baltimore, we could see if they can have that massive turnaround with Lamar now back. But yeah, it happens, man. Like, I don't really look at this as, oh, see, the Colts are frauds. If it happens again, like next week and beyond that, then maybe we look at it as, okay, that was a harbinger for the bad things to come. But for right now, they had a bad game. You turn over 6 times, you should get blown out. The fact that they didn't get blown out, like you mentioned, I think that says a lot about them. So I'm not making too much out of just this one loss, even as ugly as it looked as far as them taking care of the football.
Yeah, losses happen. We're going to talk about some losses in just a second that people did not think were going to happen. But here's Locked On Colts with their assessment of the game yesterday.
The Colts took their lumps today in a 27-20 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really didn't even feel that close as a one-score game should. The Colts now 7-2 on the season, 6 turnovers on the day, including 5 from Daniel Jones. Now, you know, those are going to go down in his stat sheet, but the offensive line did him no favors today. They got pretty much dominated up front. Their pass pro was really, really rough today. Led to a non-productive day for Jonathan Taylor as well. This was just a really peculiar one. For the first time on the year, the Colts had a 100-yard receiver. Both Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce eclipsed that. Latu had 2.5 sacks. They knocked in a couple 50-yard field goals. They outpaced Pittsburgh by like 150 yards almost, but the 6 turnovers just did them in. And Pittsburgh, just punched them in the mouth. We're going to have more on this game for you throughout the week. Locked On Colts on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, well said. No moral victories, but they do have to clean up those mistakes because their schedule gets a little bit tougher. They still got the Jaguars twice. Look at me mentioning the Jaguars and talking about tough schedule, but they also have to go to Arrowhead later on in the year. So we'll see. They still have the components of what I believe is a real good team. Now, a team that doesn't have the components of a real good team, the Bengals. If you thought you couldn't be surprised by a team being inept, wait 1 minute for what just happened in Cincinnati as they lose a game that it appeared they were going to lose, and then it looked like they were going to win it on a miracle, and then guess what? They had a miracle that caused them to lose the game. Here's my man Jake from Locked On Bengals.
Even with an onside kick recovery and an improbable comeback late in the game, the Bengals could not overcome a putrid defense. This is the worst defense in the NFL by EPA per play in the last 25 years, and it's right up there in points per game, rushing yards per game, yards per game, yards per play. Joe Flacco caught back on fire late in the game to give the Bengals a chance to win a game in which they scored over 40 points, but just like last year, the Bengals defense letting them down time and time again throughout this entire game, whether it's missed tackles, blown coverages, or both. The entire lack of a pass rush is just too much to overcome, even when Joe Flacco in this offense put up 40 plus points. And it's not like they were perfect. They probably needed to be. And just like that, the Bengals lose again going into their bye week and the trade deadline. Unreal, finding ways to lose, inventing new ways to lose, but it's typical for the Bengals, who, by the way, lost a game to the New York Jets just a couple of weeks ago.
Last week.
It was last week. It doesn't get much better. I saw this look. There should be a meme of I know James Rapine from Locked On Bengals asked Jamar Chase a question. There should be a meme on this face that it is the face that every mom or auntie has made when their kid has done something stupid. And he had this look on his face that was unbelievable. But the Bengals can continue to find ways to look, well, just awful.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is on them. This is just poor team building. And we talked about this last week. The amount that they're spending positionally on their defense is among the lowest in the NFL. So when that's the case, this is what you get. You get what you pay for, and that certainly has played out this season in Cincinnati and over the last couple of seasons. Lou Anarumo is out of a job, not because he's a bad defensive coordinator. It's because Duke Tobin and the rest of the front office has been far more focused on, I mean, rightfully so, paying Joe Burrow and paying Jamar Chase. But did you need to pay T. Higgins? Would have made more sense.
Playing well, by the way, but still, it's still about team building. You're right.
Yeah, but come on, man. Like, T. Higgins is a good player, but he's not like irreplaceable. Jamar Chase is. Yep. Justin Jefferson is. T. Higgins is not. I mean, there's guys come out of the league, out of the draft every single year that can go out there and give you what T. Higgins has given you over his, 5, now 6 years in Cincinnati. Like, I don't want to say he's not somebody worth keeping around, but is he more valuable to the team than had they actually used maybe those funds to get a defense and focus on trying to acquire more talent that way, or keeping guys like Jesse Bates when he was a free agent, when Von Bell had left there the first time around? It would have made more sense to have kept those guys instead of what they have now, which was the problem they had last season, a flawed team that Joe Burrow, he's not even playing, but yeah, Joe Flacco's been great. Either way, the offense is moving the ball, but they're not able to overcome it because the defense is just so bad, and they have not invested the way that a team that Joe Burrow said, as long as he's there, the window's open. Not true, Joe. As long as the defense is this bad, the window's closed.
Yep. There's always a danger when you take two wide receivers in back-to-back years, and then they both pan out, and then you have to pay both of them. Like, one of them is obvious, Jamar Chase. But to your point, what if they had Teteroy McMillan? And you can talk about that as the guy who is 4 years removed away from a Jamar Chase contract. And could they play complementary? The reason why I mentioned Ted McMillan, I don't know how he played yesterday, but I know his team won a big game, and I know Panther fans are doing battle right now with my friend Peter Bukowski, who does not mind a good fight. We'll discuss that more in just a second here in the third segment of Locked On NFL. All right, man. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel, man. I know we're in week 9 right now in the National Football League, and you're worried that you're running out of time. Don't, because the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action on FanDuel than the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game and you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has the live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'll say it again. You get $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, third and final segment here on Locked On NFL with my man Julian Council. Julian, your little team, the little engine that could, called the Carolina Panthers, went up there and beat a pretty good Green Bay Packers team. It probably would feel better if Green Bay also hadn't lost to Cleveland early this year, but nevertheless, man, they did it. Bryce Young may not have had the best stats in the world, but he still did what he needed to do.
Yeah, what does that matter what Green Bay did against Cleveland? I mean, it's a week league, and Carolina lost 40-9 last week against Buffalo and had been outclassed weeks prior to that against New England. So it was looking like when they played one of the better teams in the NFL, they were not going to be competitive. But all week, those guys said in the locker room, it's just one game. It's the NFL. It happens. You have to always maintain your confidence. And they won 16-13 in a game that, look, the Packers had over 100 yards more than them. The Packers got to the red zone on 5 of their 7 drives, and they only came away with 13 points on those. Like, that's where Carolina won the game, was in the red zone defensively on Sunday. Then Rico Dowdle was tremendous again, finally, as the lead back after 2 weeks where they were doing a rotation with him and Chuba Hubbard, the incumbent starter who Carolina had paid almost a year ago, a 4-year, $33 million contract, which he's never going to see that $33 million based off of just how things have gone so far in the first games of that deal. But yeah, Bryce does not put up gaudy numbers and really leaves you asking for a lot more quarters 1 through 3. But for the 9th time in his career on Sunday, he helped Carolina go down the field for a game-winning drive. 11 games that the Panthers have won with Bryce Young, and 9 of those have required a game-winning drive. So at least when you need him most, he can go out there and he can piece together one drive to help you win those games. But the Panthers, now sitting at 5-4, are going to need a lot more out of their quarterback and the pass game if they're going to be able to continue to beat teams like Green Bay, as they have the Rams, they have the 49ers, the Bucks twice, and Seattle, who looked awesome on Sunday night. Might I add, though, against a Commanders team that's clearly in free mode. Like, those are going to be some tough games in the second half of the season, and you're not going to win those games by going out there and throwing for 102 yards. So, yeah, great to have Rico Dowdle doing what he's doing. Offensive line has been banged up, holding steady and playing to a standard, and a defense that stepped up again on Sunday. But your quarterback has to do so much more for you to be able to win in November, December, and then potentially in January.
No doubt about it. And the team that had hopes for January, high hopes, have shown a little bit more inconsistency. I'll tell you who is consistent, my man Peter Bukowski. He'll fight you out. Whether he wins or loses, Peter's always got something interesting to say here from Locked On Packers.
The Green Bay Packers don't yet have the infrastructure, the culture to win a Super Bowl. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers, with 3 quick takeaways off a dispiriting 16-13 loss at home to the Carolina Panthers. Once again, the Packers come out against an inferior opponent and play down to their opponent. This is when you need your culture, your leadership, your coaching to carry you through. The Packers went 0 for 3. Jordan Love played good enough. They didn't get the right approach from the coach. They didn't get a right approach from the rest of the star players. Where were Micah Parsons? Where was Rashawn Gary? Where was Edgerrin Cooper? Xavier McKinney came through with some nice plays, but it wasn't enough. You score 13 points against a below average defense that just gave up a 40 burger to the Buffalo Bills. That is not coming out with the right mindset to go win a game. The second one is huge, and that is Tucker Kraft appears to be lost for the season. Reportedly, expectedly, an ACL tear, and that is devastating for a player who looked like he had a chance to be an all-pro player. The good news is this does not affect how I view the Packers against Philadelphia at all. They play down to their opponents. They play up to their opponents. We saw them put it on a Pittsburgh Steelers team that just beat the best record, at least, in the AFC. This Packers team can play with anybody.
He's right. They can. But they look like they can also lose to anybody, too. And that's some inconsistency they need to get rid of if they're going to achieve their goals this year. But too bad loss for Tucker Kraft. He's right. He was headed to an all-pro season.
Yeah, and that was one of those plays where Nick Scorton, the Panthers outside linebacker, the rookie from A&M, he came in and was able to block below the offensive lineman. That was within the box. It was a legal play, and Tucker Kraft is coming over there as another guy pulling to help him block, and he kind of gets caught up in that. And you could see immediately, you saw it on his face, just like him, the grimace, but like that, oh, that's not going to be good for them. So, yeah, tough that he had an excellent game the week prior. All the talk about how Tucker Kraft had been kind of this guy who's unlocking what the Packers have offensively, and then for that to happen to him. So, yeah, obviously not the type of loss Green Bay expected to take. And I certainly did not expect Carolina to go out there and to be competitive, let alone win that game on Sunday at Lambeau. And they did that, and the Packers didn't lose Tucker Kraft. And look, they had Matthew Golden go down in that game as well. They were really dealing with a lot of injuries there at receivers. So that'll be an interesting storyline to follow the rest of the season for a Packers team that, yes, has now lost to the Browns, and a Panthers team that is 5-4, above 500 through 9 weeks, the first time since 2019. So that's how long it's been since there's been a competent team here in Carolina.
I'm going to talk about Seattle a lot tomorrow, but there are teams that are begging Seattle and Philadelphia to get it together. And Seattle has it together. They are very complete, even though, like you said, Washington's bad. Philly is trying to get their offense going. Detroit did the unthinkable yesterday. And we don't even want to talk about my parlay with both of these teams being the only two teams that lost. But Detroit they lose at home to a kid who played at Michigan, came back home and did the same thing he did at Michigan, threw for less than 150 yards, but somehow J.J. McCarthy got the win. Here's Matt Derry from Locked On Lions.
Just a pathetic performance today from the Lions. They were outplayed, outcoached in all phases and lost to the Vikings at home, 27-24 as Minnesota snaps a 5-game losing streak to Detroit. Lions have dominated the Vikings in the past by picking up their blitzes. Today they could not do it. Jared Goff was on his back all day. He did not play well. Special teams, absolutely pathetic today in all phases. Kick returns, return coverage, had a field goal blocked. Offense was not in sync. Injuries were a problem today. And the Lions fall. They deserve to lose. J.J. McCarthy, the young quarterback, comes back to the state of Michigan and takes over this game. The Vikings win 27-24. More coming up on Locked On Lions.
I think you always have to be careful with KOC on offense and Brian Flores on defense. If you have stepping, they're going to outcoach you, and good for them to get this win. But now when you play certain teams, that Frank Ragnow early retirement kind of will show up. And I'm wondering if that's going to happen against really, really good teams as we get later in the year.
Well, you look over at True Media and the PFF pressure percentage, the Vikings are number one in the league, 45.8%. That's insane, the amount of pressure they're getting. So that's how the Vikings are going to win these games. They're not winning them on the arm of their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, who did make some great plays on Sunday, but 14 completions. So it's not like he's really doing a ton. And granted, this is his third start because he's been out for most of the season at this point in time. So good to see him bounce back, go back to the state of his alma mater there in Michigan, only a couple miles down the road from Ann Arbor, and get that win against a Lions team who that would have been an opportunity with Green Bay losing. That was an opportunity to get another game back there and position yourself moving forward in the NFC North. But I still feel like it's a Packers-Lions battle with the Bears still sitting right there. And then we'll see with the Vikings how they move forward. But can't believe it. It looks like they made a mistake by letting Sam Darnold go.
Yeah, man, they absolutely did. Speaking of Sam, talk about him a little bit tomorrow on Locked On NFL at the barbershop. We'll talk about him and Jaden Daniels and what happened with them. Make sure you check out Tyler Rowland early in the morning because he'll wake you up like a double shot of espresso first. He's going to give you all of the happenings of the Arizona Cardinals Dallas Cowboy game that will be played tonight. And then we'll slide through in the barbershop, let you know about any last minute trades, all of those things that'll go on. Julian and I do not take your presence for granted. About 30 minutes and 30 seconds today. We absolutely appreciate you joining us, and we thank you for making us your first listen here on Locked On NFL, and we'll see you.